This video is rated T for Tickle Me Pink. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tickle Me Pink, your least favorite content creator. Today we're going to be discussing the best weapons you can use with level 3 traders. Now, how do we get to these weapons? These are weapons that we can buy all the components for, or 99% of the components for, so we can make cheap yet effective weapons. What ammunition you should be running through these weapons, because it doesn't matter if I make you the most modified weapon in the game. If you're shooting Nerf darts out of it, you're not going to be taking people down. So all these weapons are built around shooting a phenomenal round. But I'll shut the fuck up and let's talk about the 5 weapons that made the cut for the best level 3 weapon builds. The 300 Blackout, the AK-12, the SVD, the HK-416, and the SA-58 are our top 5 weapon builds. Let's go ahead and hop into modifying a 300 Blackout. So why the 300 Blackout? Well, first and foremost, you can get a 100 out of 100 durability 300 Blackout on the flea market for as low as 35,000 rubles. If we extrapolate that and then also look at the ammunition we can put through this thing, you can see we can actually buy CBJ as well as M62 Tracer off the flea market. At the time of recording this, M62 Tracer goes for around 600 to 700 rubles a round, and CBJ goes for around 1,000 rubles to 1,200 rubles a round. If we also look at the statistics behind the 300 Blackout, it is a terrifying round. This round has immense flesh damage. We're talking flesh damage on par with 308s, and penetration values on par with black tip 5.56 rounds. You're going to be going through level 5 plates, no problem. If you connect with a chest round, you go around someone's plate, they are going to die damn near instantly. Combine this with the fact that this weapon is shooting at 800 rounds per minute, it's pretty easy to imagine how fast you're going to be giving your enemies lead bukkake. So let's get into modifying the 300 Blackout. Alright, first and foremost, we're going to go ahead and put on an F1 skeletonized style 1 pistol grip. This is sold from skier level 3 for 9,015 rubles. After that, we're going to go ahead and put on the MCX buffer tube adapter from Peacekeeper level 3. He sells us for $24. On top of that buffer tube adapter, we're going to get an ATP buffer tube from skier level 2 for 5,060 rubles. Sliding on top of our buffer tube, we're going to go with the PRS Gen 3 buttstock. This is the best buttstock in the game for dealing with recoil control. And although this weapon doesn't necessarily have a ton of vertical kick, it does have a lot of horizontal kick, and putting a stock like this on the back of the weapon is just going to make our groupings tighter for our mid-range engagements. You will need to have completed Gunsmith Part 14 for this, for Peacekeeper 3 to sell for $170. If you're not at Gunsmith 14 yet at level 3 traders, make sure you're working on that. I'll have a link to every single Gunsmith build made in the most cost-effective way in the top right, and I'm happy to get you guys any components you need to progress through those Gunsmith builds, so make sure you check that video out. If you want to hop on this a little bit earlier, a great stock you can use instead is the E-mod stock that's available from Peacekeeper level 3. Just slot this on in its place until you can get Gunsmith Part 14 completed. Up next, we're going to go for the MCX 12-inch handguard. This is the longest handguard available for the 300 Blackout. It's just going to help us once again with that horizontal recoil. This is sold from skier level 3 for 11,500 rubles. At the end of our muzzle, we're going to go with the SRD762 QD suppressor. Now, this is a 3-piece muzzle adapter, muzzle brake, and suppressor. However, it comes from the trader. It comes on the flea with this 2-piece T-lock already on it. So just make sure if you're grabbing yours from the flea market, they do have that muzzle brake on them. And this suppressor is readily sold on the flea market for around 45 to 50,000 rubles. Up next, to help with recoil even more, we're going to get the Zenit RK-14 grip from skier level 3 for 24,886 rubles. Once again, it's just going to help us tackle that horizontal recoil that's uncontrollable. For a light, I went with the Balder Pro from skier level 2 for 9,483. For magazines, I'm going to recommend the PMag Gen M3 40 round magazines from Peacekeeper 3 for $49. Now, these are 3x1 slots. The reason why I recommend these over 60 rounders is because the weight on weapons is so much more important, and 60 rounders are very heavy. Also, you pack more ammunition, you add more weight, and you get a massive dump to your ergonomic stats. With the recoil changes in the game, ergonomics and weight are much more important than they were previously. The only caveat to these 40 round magazines is you do need to get those 3x1 cells. So make sure you're utilizing armor and rigs that will actually allow you to use these 40 round magazines. I personally really enjoy the Osprey rig, and I have an entire armor guide on what armor you should be using at every single level, because just like our weapon builds, it's important to use efficient armor throughout the levels to make as much money and increase our survival rate as we go. I'll have that linked in the top right. My preferred optic of choice for this build is the EOTech XPS3-0 hollow sight, sold from Peacekeeper level 2 for $189. Now, you'll see that I always use flip up hollows all the time because I'm a very aggressive player, and most of my kills are in that standard non-magnified hollow. However, it's nice to have the flip up capabilities and pop a shot if you see it. Now, the reason why I'm not using a flip up and not spending, let's say, an extra 30,000 rubles, 40,000 rubles for that flip up capability with this build is the 300 Blackout is a subsonic weapon. That means the velocity of the bullets is very low. It's going to be very hard to go ahead and snipe and take long range engagements unless they're standing dead still. The bullets do have a lot of drop and they have some blue mid range. So I just don't feel like I'm getting a whole lot of value by having that flip up. You may disagree and you might want to run something that has a magnifier just so you can take some shots at a medium range. Maybe you're going to be playing shoreline with this build. And although the rate of fire and the ammunition coming out of this thing is going to be legendary when you're inside of the resort itself, if you do get stuck in engagements outside the resort, you might want to have some sort of magnifier. So just think about where you're going to be taking this build in particular. But the 300 Blackout really shines if you have to go to, let's say, customs, streets of Tarkov. Maybe if you're going into the reserve bunker, this would be a place that the 300 Blackout will just shred anyone. If you want the completed build with every attachment on screen, just swing over to my Twitch. Make sure you type in !level 3 MCX, just like you see it on the screen right now, and that'll be available for you guys. I'll have this build as well as all the remaining builds in this video actually in my Discord in the weapons build section under Escape from Tarkov, so you can find those over there. So as a spiritual successor to the G36, we still don't have access to 5.6A1 or 5.5A1 at level 3 traders, so the G36 loses a little bit of its potency. And through level 2 traders, you guys probably fell in love with the burst fire capabilities of the G36, but I have a backup solution for you guys, and that is the AK-12. Now the AK-12 actually has a burst fire, full auto, and semi-function just like the G36. It feels largely very similar, however it's going to be shooting 5.45 instead of 5.56. There is one problem with this gun, and that is you really can't buy ammunition better than 5.45 PP on the flea market for this weapon. However, the solution to this is that there are ammo boxes all over the map right now. So if you're just actually grabbing those ammo boxes, you're going to be getting a ton of 120 packs of BS, Needler, BP, BT ammunition, and I just suggest you use whatever you can get your hands on while using this AK-12. With the changes to recoil, burst fire used to be completely obsolete as all the recoil was packed into the first couple of shots, so you just repeatedly be shooting insane amounts of recoil over and over and over again. With the changes to recoil now though, we no longer show from this. And burst fire feels good because you have the accuracy of semi-automatic, but then you have the accuracy through volume of full automatic. So you're just putting very accurate shots on target. You're not wasting ammunition and you're getting a lot of lead down range. It's going to feel phenomenal when you're playing solo and you're taking any sort of mid to short range engagements. You're not spending a lot of time worrying about reloading, packing magazines. You're just quickly putting down targets and moving on. And a big part of surviving this game is getting away from noise you make. So say you have to take down some scavs, engage some players, getting in and getting out before other players can come and swarm to you is a massive advantage. And that's where burst fire really tends to shine. Now, you actually unlock the AK-12 with proper level 3. You need 3 green eagle gunpowders and 4 metal parts. But right now in the flea market, you can get this for around 70,000 rubles, so I'd recommend you just grab it there. On your AK-12, we're going to go ahead and put on the Magpul MOE pistol grip. This is sold for mechanic level 3 for 8,239 rubles. Up next, we have once again the PRS Gen 3 buttstock. You do need to complete Gunsmith Part 14, just like how you did for the 300 Blackout. Now, remember, you can go ahead and slot on the E-mod as a backup if you haven't completed that. Then we want the RP1 charging handle from skier level 1 for 3,000 rubles and the Balder Pro from skier level 2 for 9,000 rubles. I like to have the EOTech flip up hollow for the AK-12. However, another strong contender that I've been utilizing recently is actually the Elkin. If you guys haven't tried this optic out already, it's really nice. It's a 1x4 variable. I know some of you guys really are not a fan of that flip up EOTech. I get shit for it all of the time, so maybe give that a try instead. Make sure you go ahead and remove the iron sights. We're actually going to be using the standard muzzle brake for the AK-12. Now, there is an option to suppress this. I just find that it hits the ergonomics and the weight of this weapon a little bit too much, but you can suppress it if you want to. You can get those on the flea market for around 50,000 rubles at the time recording this. For the magazines, I like to use the 6L26 45 round magazines from proper level 3. These go for around 4,000 rubles, and you might think that 45 round magazines seem a little bit weird for burst fire. Just give them a try, trust me. It has won me so many fights where I need to take on maybe a 2 or 3 man squad. There's a lot of scavs, just a lot of fighting going on, let's say on streets, for example, and I don't need to worry about getting caught in a reload, packing magazines. I have those 2 45 round magazines ready to go, and you will go through them, but faster than you think. When you're putting a lot of shots down range in the burst fire format, you'll be shooting almost as fast as if you're in full auto. So 45 round magazines can be a blessing, and I would strongly recommend you give them a try. But it has that same drawback as a 300 Blackout, where you're also going to need those 3x1 cells in either your armor or your chest rig to run those 45 round magazines. For the foregrip, we're going with the Osovets P2 foregrip for mechanic level 3 for 14,203 rubles. If you have any of the like Kalashnikov series grenade launchers that can go on AKs, you can just slot this on instead, and that'll be a great way to use it. Throw some VOGs in it, which you can get on the flea market. They're instant impact. If you guys don't know, the grenades that go inside the AK grenade launchers, they'll blow up as soon as they hit anything. And they are quite threatening. Just make sure if you're using a grenade launcher, you maintain your high ground. They do phenomenally if you're shooting down on people with them. But if you ever have to shoot up on someone with a grenade launcher, it's obviously so much more difficult to use. And that covers the AK-12. If you guys want to see the full mod list for this, make sure you type level 3 AK-12 in my Twitch chat. Up next, the SA-58 is back. This gun has been largely unviable for several years now at this point. And it's your favorite 308 fully automatic weapon that is back, and it is so much fun to use, guys. The caveat to this is you're going to need to unlock M80s, but you can unlock M80s with level 3 Peacekeeper. You just need to complete the quest Revision Lighthouse, where you go and mark the tanks around Lighthouse. This quest is honestly a giant pain in the fucking ass. If you need any help with this quest, just make sure you join my Discord. I'm happy to play with you or swing by my Twitch stream. I will help you mark all these tanks so you can get M80s unlocked. Yeah, not a whole lot else to say about this gun, really. Fully automatic, shoots 308. It's got anyone that you put your crosshair on is going to instantly die. Let's get into modifying the SA-58. Now, to get your hands on the basis of this SA-58, we actually want to use mechanic level 3's barter trade for 8 weapon parts. You can get this version of the SA-58 on the flea market, but it's not super readily available, so I would just recommend you go ahead and utilize this barter. And the reason we're utilizing this first and foremost is it comes with a lot of modifications we already want to make to this, the correct barrel length, etc. Scavs get this weapon all of the time and just like load it up on the flea market non-stop. But you don't want to be utilizing that variation of the SA-58. Start with this basis here. So first and foremost, we're going to want the BRS buttstock from Mechanic 3. This goes for 18,000 rubles. It's got great recoil control, great ergonomics. For the pistol grip, we're going with the FAB Defense AG-FAL pistol grip. You can get this on flea market for around 15,000 rubles, and it's a huge ergonomics boost to the weapon. For the muzzle, we're going to be rocking the Wave muzzle brake that's sold for mechanic level 3 for 10,000 rubles. After that, we're going to go ahead and slot on the Wave QD sound suppressor for mechanic 3 for 57,000 rubles. For our handguard, we want to go ahead and use the Vitor CASV-FAS handguard. You can get this on flea market for 25,000 rubles, and it has the best stats for the FAL. Once again, I'm a big fan of running the hollow sight for this. This is a little bit more of a close quarters weapon. Now, you can go ahead and utilize something with a magnifier if you want, but I personally like to run this in like my 1 to 50 meter range. So I just have a standard 1x on it. I'm using the EOTech XPS 3-0 hollow sight from Peacekeeper level 2 for $189. For our magazines, you're going to want to be using the L1A1 30 round magazines. You can get these on the flea market right now really cheap for around 5,000 rubles. These might spike up as there's not like a great source of them to come into the game. Just get your hands on whatever high capacity magazine you can get for cheap on the flea market. For a foregrip, we're going to be using the Ossevet's P2 foregrip from Mechanic level 3 for 14,000 rubles. And for a light, we're going to be using the Balder Pro Light from Skier 2 for 9,000 rubles. But that completes your SA-58. This thing is so much fun to use right now. If you want the full SA-58 weapon build, just make sure you go over to my Twitch chat, type level 3 SA-58. And let's hop into the HK416. So the HK416 was not done any justice when they first implemented a lot of recoil back into the game around 2 years ago. Now it's back and better than ever. You're shooting 5.56 at an insane fire rate. Now, before we go any further, why am I going to recommend the HK416? But I was saying that we're not going to use something like the G36, the AUG earlier, just due to the 5.56 we have available at level 3 traders. That is due to accuracy through volume, my friend. The HK416 is shooting at 850 rounds per minute. A lot of times, you're just going to accidentally move your mouse over an enemy's face while holding down left click, and you're going to watch them get teleported back to Lumbridge in real time. It does not matter that we're going to be shooting green tip M855 out of this HK416, because you are going to be slaughtering everyone. And this weapon does phenomenally anywhere where you think you're going to be dealing with a lot of player scavs, somewhere like streets, interchange, reserve, lighthouse, anywhere where you're going to be up close and personal with player scavs. They don't have the armor to deal with M855. So combine that with an insane fire rate, and you're going to be ruining player scavs days left and right. Farm and labs keycards like no one's business. It's going to be great. But first, if this video has been helpful to you guys at all, please make sure to smash the dislike button and tell me to commit toaster bath in the comments down below. Now let's get into modifying this HK416. Now you're going to be able to get the HK416 from Peacekeeper level 3 for $800. They do have these available on the flea market, but I would just stay away from it because they come in all sorts of different barrel sizes, because people are getting them from the rogues or finding them in the marked rooms, etc. Just stick with Peacekeeper's trade for now. We're going to be using the F1 Skeletonized Style 1 pistol grip from Skier level 3 for 9,000 rubles. This gives a big boost to the ergonomics of the weapon. Once again, going back to that PRS Gen 3 butt stock that you need to complete Gunsmith Part 14 for. If you haven't done Part 14, utilize the E mod, but start working on those Gunsmith quests, guys. Remember, check out that video. After that, we're actually going to be slotting on a new barrel. We're going to want to go ahead and use the 16.5-inch HK barrel from Mechanic Level 3. This goes for 37,000 rubles. Then we're going to go ahead and put on our Midwest Industries M-Lock 9-inch handguard from Peacekeeper Level 3 for $96. Once again, we're going to go back to the Wave muzzle brake from Mechanic Level 3 for 10,000 rubles, followed by the Wave QD sound suppressor from Mechanic Level 3 for 57,000 rubles. For our foregrip, we want the Magpul M-Lock angled foregrip. We're going to get this from Peacekeeper Level 3 for $64, and we're going to go ahead and combine it with a Balder Pro flashlight from Skier 2 for 9,000 rubles. Once again, I'm a huge fan of using that EOTech flip-up polysight here. You can get this on flea market for 40,000 rubles, but go ahead, put your optic of choice on this weapon, and then make sure you go ahead and remove the rear sight. Just like with the 300 Blackout, we're going to be wanting to use the PMag Gen 3 M3 40-round magazines. You can get this from Peacekeeper Level 3 for $49. With all these high rate of fire weapons, you really want to make sure you have higher capacity magazines. You don't need to go for the 60s due to that weight and ergonomic restraint that I was telling you guys about earlier, but going for something in the 40 to 45 range can be a huge blessing. You will not believe how fast you go through a 30-round magazine when you're shooting something that has 850 rounds per minute. And that covers the HK416. If you want this full build, swing over to my Twitch, type !level 3 HK416. Let's hop into our final weapon, the SVD. The SVD is going to be my go-to DMR in the level 3 trader range due to the fact that you can get LPS ammunition on the flea market for around 900 rubles a round. This ammunition does not fuck around. It's not tracer. It puts people down. Now, I know you can get your hands on 308 DMRs in the level 3 trader range, but they're just not as inspiring. You can't really modify them effectively at this range, and I would strongly recommend you use the SVD instead of those 308 DMRs. All right, first and foremost, we're gonna grab ourselves an SVDS from Proper Level 3. There's actually a new attachment for the SVD, and that is the pistol grip adapter. We're gonna need to go ahead and slot this on so we can put AK style pistol grips on the SVD, and this is sold from Mechanic Level 3 for 1,000 rubles. We're gonna go ahead and slot on a Magpul MOE pistol grip from Mechanic Level 3 for 8,000 rubles. Then we want to grab our SVDS modernization kit handguard from Prapor 3 for 15,000 rubles. Slotting on that, we'll get the Magpul M-Lock angled foregrip from Peacekeeper 3 for $64 and the Balder Pro flashlight from Skier 2 for 9,000 rubles. Up next, we'll have the Rotor 43 762x54R suppressor from Skier 3 for 53,000 rubles. You're going to need to go ahead and utilize the thread adapter from Mechanic 3 for 2,000 rubles. Much like the AK-12 kind of felt like it had a weight and ergonomic constraint when running it with the suppressor, the SVD also feels the same. And the way I would determine if you're going to actually utilize the suppressor or not is if you're going to be kind of moving slow, scoping things out, moving from cover to cover, and taking your time with the raid, then go ahead and run a suppressor. Or if you're going to be on something like the mall or somewhere dark where that muzzle flash is going to give away your position very fast, utilize that suppressor. Now, if you're going to be playing very aggressively, you can run this loud and save a lot of weight and ergonomics once again, so you can quickly shoulder your rifle if someone's putting shots on you and you need to return fire. Or if you bring this SVD to, let's say somewhere like, I don't know, customs, for example, even with suppressor, people nearby are going to be able to hear you. It's a relatively small map, but if you're going somewhere like Shoreline, going around the outsides and you need to kill scavs, go hit quest objectives on the outside of the resort, then a suppressor could be a godsend. So make that decision on where you're actually taking this rifle and customize it for your needs. Up next, we're going to need to get the Lynx buffer tube adapter from Jaeger 2 for 3,000 rubles. We're going to slot in an ATP buffer tube from Skier Level 2 for 5,000 rubles. And on top of that, we're going to slot on a GL Core buttstock from Skier Level 3 for 4,700 rubles. This buttstock gives an immense amount of ergonomics and is really going to help make up for the lack of ergonomics this weapon has. It's a heavy weapon with low ergonomic stats, and we want to make sure we're helping that as much as we can. After that, we're going to go ahead and slot on an SVD low dovetail mount from Mechanic 3 for 10,000 rubles, so let us put an optic on the weapon. And for the optic of choice, I like to use the Elkin 1x4 optic here. You can get this from Peacekeeper Level 3 for $259. Just make sure you're looking for the black variation. If he does get sold out, these go for a ton on the flea market. So go ahead and check out the brown variation and see if it's cheaper. Usually it's around 35,000 rubles if that black one is sold out. And then we have a fully modified SVD. If you want to see this full build, make sure to go to Twitch, type in !level 3 SVD for the full build. And that covers our top 5 weapons to use in the level 3 trader range, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below. I look forward to seeing you guys on the live stream as well as in the Discord. Both those links will be in the description down below. And if you haven't seen the correct armor to use at every single level in Escape from Tarkov, I'll have that on screen right now.